Hello everybody, I am Joe Ross, a Genie Vlogger, and welcome back to another video where I review your DNA and genealogy questions. If you have questions that you'd like me to answer, be sure to go to my subreddit, r/GenieVlogger, and be sure to post them there. At this point, I think I have over 100 questions in the queue, so be sure to add yours ASAP. Otherwise, it's going to be at least months before I get to your question. But let's jump in. How Irish am I? Really did both Ancestry and 23andMe. Now, this person posted twice, so I'm only going to show the one, but the first one said how Irish am I? And first looking at the Ancestry, we see Siobhan, 100%. 99.8% European, 95.1% Northwestern European, 94.9% British and Irish, and it's saying County Dublin, Ireland, Glasgow County, UK, plus 18 regions. So it's saying those are the specific areas that you're connected with. 0.2% broadly Northwestern European, and then we have 4.3% Southern European, with a 4.3% Italian connected specifically to Sicily and 6 other regions. Now that's pretty interesting that it's not only picking up Italian, but connecting specifically to Sicily. So if this is the case that you do have some Italian ancestor hiding in your Irish ancestry, which it seems like you're pretty much mostly Irish, but at 4.3%, the closest percentage that you're halfway between what you'd expect for a second great-grandparent and a third great-grandparent. So a second great-grandparent, you expect about 6.125%. For a third great-grandparent, it's 3 point whatever the percentage is. So, 4.3, you're leaning a little bit more towards the third great-grandparent. So if you build out your entire family tree and you have all of your second great-grandparents and all of your third great-grandparents, you may find an Italian ancestor. May not be the case. This could be a misread of some of your Irish ancestry. Could be that you have multiple Italian ancestors much further back. Maybe you have a 5th great-grandparent through your dad's side and a 4th great-grandparent through your mom's side and another 7th great-grandparent somewhere back there, and just all of that added together makes it look like this 4.3%. But if all of that Italian is coming from one ancestor, then you're definitely looking at about a 2nd to 3rd great-grandparent. Okay, so now let's look at her ancestry results. So for ancestry, we're getting 77% Ireland, 21% Scotland, and 2% Germanic Europe. So somewhat different than my heritage, biggest thing being that Italian is now no longer there. So then there becomes a question, is that Italian a misread? Or is it an issue that Ancestry isn't as good at reading Italian? But the unfortunate thing is there's no way to tell for sure except through doing genealogical research. But either way, Ancestry and MyHeritage are definitely defining things differently for you. Let's jump to the next one. Hi, first screenshot was from May 6, 2021, second and third from September 18th, 2021. I was born in Puerto Rico on 1976. I'm Carthaginian from what today is Tunisia. Great-grandfather full Taína with a Spaniard mulatto husband, both father's side, mother Canary Islands and Portugal. So we're going to be expecting a big mix. And already right off the bat, we see with the Ancestry DNA for Glenda Lee, Spain 41%, Portugal 20%, indigenous Puerto Rico 14%, France 5%, Cameroon, Congo, and Western Bantu peoples 4%, Scotland 2%, Northern Italy 2%, Nigeria 2%, Senegal 2%, and then in the 1% we have Benin and Togo, Ireland, Germanic Europe, Northern Africa, Southern Italy, Mali, European Jewish, Ivory Coast, and Ghana, and then we have communities Puerto Rico. So it certainly makes a lot of sense here, and being that your mother's side is from the Canary Islands and Portugal, I know that, there's a big connection between Canary Islands and Portugal and Puerto Rico, so that certainly makes sense that it's all kind of tying towards Puerto Rico for the community readings. So let's see what the other ones are. So this is the later, so this would be a little bit of a change. So Spain 36%, which before it was 41%. Portugal 22%, indigenous Puerto Rico 13%, Cameroon, Congo, Western Bantu peoples 4%, Scotland 4%, Northern Africa 3%. So Northern Africa's gone up, Cameroon, Congo, Western Bantu peoples the same. Scotland went up a little bit. France is no longer there. Actually, let's see the full image. Okay, there we go. So Northern Africa, Wales, France is a little lower. Nigeria, Senegal, European Jewish now. Basque, which is basically French-Spanish mixture. And then let's go back and do the full here. Okay, so that Basque, Germanic Europe, Mali, Benin, Togo, Ivory Coast, and Ghana, Indigenous Americas, Bolivia, and Peru. And then we see Puerto Rico from your region, Spain, Portugal, Indigenous Puerto Rico, Central and Eastern Puerto Rico, Southeastern Puerto Rico, North Central Puerto Rico. So not really much I can say beyond that. There was, a little bit of a change, obviously, from May to September, which that's going to happen all the time because they're constantly updating these. Some interesting things, let's say maybe you want to try to find your African ancestor through that ancestry, because that is a commonality among people with Puerto Rican ancestries. You get this small percentage of African. Now, it seems that all of your African adds up to just about maybe 10% or so, both the May and the September readings. So if that were all coming from one ancestor, that would be the equivalent of about a great-grandparent, maybe a second great-grandparent. But more than likely, it's coming from both sides, and if that's the case, then you're looking at a little bit further out there. And then if your family was living in Tunisia, there's also that question of, was there any marriages from the local population in Tunisia into your family, and you descend from that? And if so, it certainly makes sense with the Northern African, depending on how far back your family was in Tunisia. So certainly a very interesting DNA breakdown. When most people say they are mixed, they don't mean this mixed. My mother is half French Canadian, half Ukrainian Jew. My father was born in Guyana. His mother was 3/4 Chinese and 1/4 Portuguese. His father was half Portuguese, 1/8 Black, 1/8 Scottish, 1/8 Amerindian, and 1/8 Irish. So we are going to be expecting a major mix with this one. And looking at the first part, we see Southern European 41.7% with 38.4% from Spain and Portugal, 2.2% Italian, 1.1% broadly Southern European. The Northwestern European, 14.7%, broken down into 4.1% French and German, 2.9% British and Irish, and 7.7% just broadly Northwestern European. We have 0.9% Eastern European, 21.7% Ashkenazi Jewish, which definitely makes sense if you have one grandparent who is Ukrainian Jewish. Then 2.2% broadly European. And then East Asian and Indigenous Americas, 11.5%, broken into Chinese and Southeast Asian, 9.2%, which is 9.1% Chinese and 0.1% Indonesian, Thai, Khmer, and Myanmar. And then 2.3% Indigenous American. So definitely that Chinese coming through, and then the Amerindian. And then for Sub-Saharan African, we have 5.8%, which is 5% West African, which is broken into 4% Ghanaian, Liberian, and Sierra Leonean, 0.6% Senegambian and Guinean, and 0.4% broadly West African, and then a 0.8% of Congolese and Southern East African. And then we also have Western Asian, Northern African, 1.4%, broken into Arab, Egyptian, and Levantine at 1.4%, assigned to Egyptian 1.4%. So it certainly seems like everything that you listed is coming through in the DNA, and it's that's pretty cool. I'd be very, very curious to see what your DNA matches look like. I bet that's a very interesting match list. 100% European Jewish on Ancestry with a 0% European Jewish cousin match. So I just matched with someone on Ancestry who doesn't share any European Jewish ancestry with me, at least in their estimate. The match was 16 centimorgans across 2 segments. While this person's ethnicity estimate only listed 0% European Jewish and nothing else, their family tree indicates that they are 3/4 Mexican and 1/4 Sicilian ancestry. My first thought is this is likely a shared Sephardic Jewish ancestor, given what this person's origins are. Am I right to make this assumption? Also, why would we not have at least some overlap in our ethnicity estimates if there is shared DNA? Why would I not have less than 1% Levant or less than 1% Southern Italy, typical region Sephardic Jews get, or why would this person not have less than 1% European Jewish? For some background info, my Ashkenazi ancestry is from Belarus, Ukraine, and southeastern Poland, and there are no stories of distant Sephardi ancestry. One great-grandmother is from Khotan in southern Ukraine, used to be part of Romania, and was briefly a part of the Ottoman Empire, where I know there was a heavy Sephardic presence, and had a last name that is present across multiple Jewish diaspora communities. So fair. Thanks, and keep up the awesome work with your YouTube channel. Now, there are a lot of possibilities for what could be going on here, and what you suggested is certainly possible. They may have some sort of Sephardi ancestry. You may have some sort of Sephardi ancestry that you don't know about, and it connects in some sort of way, and you both did inherit these shared segments because of that. At the same time, you may also have shared Ashkenazi ancestry. Even though they only have a family tree which traces to Mexico and Sicily, it doesn't necessarily mean that they may not have some sort of Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry hiding in there, which then connects to you. Another possibility, maybe you have some European ancestry that connects to their European ancestry, and that's actually how you're related, and that's why they're not getting any of this Jewish reading. And also, since you're talking about 16 centimorgans across 2 segments, meaning that each segment is on average 8 centimorgans, well, that's just over the confidence threshold for most segments, which is 7 centimorgans. But when you're dealing with endogamous populations, it's often a good idea to make that threshold higher. So even though you do have these 8 centimorgan segments, it may still be a misread, or what's known as an identical by state match. So these segments may not actually be shared because you have shared ancestry. It may just be because of the state of the DNA, the difficulties in reading the DNA and all of that, that these segments then seem to be shared segments, even though they actually aren't. And of course, if this match does have some sort of Jewish ancestry, and that is why you're getting these match segments, they still may not get any percentage of a Jewish reading, just because the way that the algorithm is reading, the percentages to come up with the admixture percentages, it's not quite exactly the same way that they're going to do the genetic matches. So you may have these very small shared segments, but it's not like the algorithm is going to pick up on those segments and then say, okay, they're going to have a small percentage. So you're dealing with a lot of possibilities that have a lot of different factors going into it, on top of the fact that it's really difficult for them to read DNA to have very specific ethnicity percentages. There's just a lot of difficulty with it, and there's going to be a good amount of error. So if this is something you want to research further and dive further into, there certainly could be something there, but you do need to keep in the back of your mind that there are these other possibilities, and those possibilities could include that there is no actual relation, it's just an error. And our meme for the day: when you contact a new genetic match, the struggle is real. And the closer the match and the better the connection, it's always so much more difficult when you don't get a response. Especially when you actually think you know how you're related to that person, and you just want their confirmation that you're right. Children of identical twins. My father is an identical twin. Will the twins' children show up as half siblings? Can you tell by DNA which children belong to which twin? And the answer is that, yeah, they will show up as half siblings. There was actually a case I saw on the news where there were these 2 women who were twins, identical twins. They had been adopted out separately. One of them had done a DNA test, and when she got her results back, it showed that she had a daughter, even though she had never had a daughter. She would have remembered that. And it turned out that it was the daughter of her identical twin. And the last question, can you tell by DNA which children belong to which twin? And the answer is no, but maybe. So it's going to be no, because the twins technically share all of their DNA. And the reason I say that is because even though they do share pretty much all of their DNA, there are some slight differences because of mutations that happened in development while they were still in the womb, as well as mutations as you grow up. So if you were able to identify some very specific SNP or a single nucleotide polymorphism that's assigned to one of the twins, then maybe you would be able to determine. But I'm just saying that from a hypothetical standpoint, because I'm not quite sure how possible that would be to, find that one single SNP and then try to find out if the child also got it. So as I said, more than likely no, but I mean, possibly yes, I guess. But this is also something that I went into a little bit further when I did a reaction to CBC's series looking at identical twins taking a DNA test, which I wasn't quite the happiest about. So if you want to check out that video, be sure to check it out right here. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. That really does help me out. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It is completely free to do so. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @GenieVlogger. I'm the Genie Vlogger. See you in my next video.